Hey guys, new knife review for you. Of course, it's a SOG knife, as you can see from the box here, or SOG. A lot of people ask me what's SOG stand for. Originally, SOG stood for Studies and Observations Group, and their company basically, talked with soldiers and worked with different soldiers during the Vietnam War to better their tools and weapons and their knives. With communication with the actual guys that use the products and need the products the most, you can kind of weed out what doesn't work, and you can get right down to what does work. And that's why a lot of their products have been very successful over the years. I don't specifically have one brand. Another question I get all the time, what brand do you like the most? Well, I go by the name Cutlerylover because I love all cutlery. Anything that's sharp pretty much piques my interest. I don't have one specific brand that I prefer over another. I think every single brand has good stuff to offer, and some not so good stuff to offer. But generally, I am a big fan of SOG knives. I've been happy with most, if not all, of their products that I've personally used, and this is again one of them that I am quite fond of. Let me show you the model here. I got to get in close to get some detail for you. This is the model AE-02, as you can see there, and that is the Aegis. And that's how that's pronounced. A-E-G-I-S is Aegis. I believe it's a Greek word for shield or protection, is what it translates to. And of course you saw there it says Tinai. That's just a specific version. Tinai is short for, or stands for, titanium nitride. It's the coating on the blade. This is the all blacked out version. So of course you have that black blade, and maybe as you saw there, this is a spring assisted knife. So once you push the blade out to a certain point, mechanism is going to take over and sling that blade out for you the rest of the way. And a nice strong lockup on that as well. So pretty fast knife. You don't have to have any experience with flicking them out or anything like that. Basically you just push that thumbstud out a little bit, and it's out and locked up and ready to go. Of course, with your knife, you're also going to get a little bit of paperwork in here, your mini catalog to look at what else SOG has to offer in their current production line. There's their fusion blade, fusion section again. I showed this in one of my other reviews. Very good knives for the money, and very affordable. And then of course some of their other stuff. So I'll give you a quick little scan on that. So let's start talking about the knife. Right off the bat, I'll tell you I am a big fan of this knife. I think it's a very good design. I think it's extremely versatile, which has a lot to do with this blade. And I'm going to be talking a lot about the blade. But before I get into that, let's talk a little bit about the specs on this knife, and then I'll go into the handle and some of its features. As far as specs, the blade is 3.5 inches long. The handle is 5 1/4 inches long, and the whole knife, open like this, is 8 1/4 inches long. The handle is a Zytel, and it has some texturing on it, as you can see here. If I get a little closer for you. And of course, when the Zytel is molded, that's in the mold. And I have to say, it does serve a purpose. It's not just to look kind of cool. I mean, a lot of the different models has this. Their Trident has this kind of very similar texturing, and it does facilitate some grip. So I like it. I mean, it looks kind of cool, but it also does. It is functional. It does work. And of course, on their Aegis models, they have these 3 inserts, rubber inserts on both sides. And if I come in close, you can see the texturing is actually SOG. It just says SOG over and over again. And the lettering itself works just like this, where it actually creates a texture. Now I have to say, this up here is grippier or more textured, more functional than the inserts, but the inserts do add some texture to it. It's not just for looks. It does actually add some texture. A little bit hard to see on the, of course, all blacked out model, but some of the other versions it stands out a little bit more. As far as how it feels in the hand, it feels very good. The little palm swell they have in here, or the curvature you can see here, it helps to get a nice grip on the knife. It does fit pretty good in the hands. One of the biggest things that stands out with this knife to me, as far as how it feels, is all in here. They have these kind of ribbing or cutouts. Again, I'll bring you nice and close so you can see what I'm talking about. that kind of scalloped or serrated looking cutouts on the Zytel, and it actually is really, really grippy. I mean, when your pointer finger, and if you hold it up far enough, your middle finger as well, it really like locks in. I mean, once you grab that and grip it, it's not going to move out of your hands. And there's jimping on the back here. The jimping on the blade is pretty good. I think it's a little bit short. They should have maybe brought it out a little bit more. Or they have jimping on the handle here, but the piece of metal here, which is just part of the locking mechanism, I think they should have cut into that as well to make it a little bit more functional. But you have plenty of grip, and mostly because of down here. This is by far more grippy than any jimping I've ever seen on any metal. Just this Zytel and this specific cutout on it is extremely, extremely just, I mean, your hand just locks in. There's no way it's going to move. I would love to have seen this maybe on the back even. I'm not sure if they could have done that by design. It's a little bit easier here because you do have the empty space here, but because of the locking mechanism, I guess you couldn't do it on the back because that would take away from the strength of the lock. So I'll have to take that part back. They couldn't have done that on the top, but I have to say it locks in your hand very nicely. Again, because of this kind of double finger choil here, where your pointer finger and middle finger kind of rest, there's no way. You can really stab into something with all you got, and there's no way your hand's going to move forward. So it is very good in the hand. One thing I want to notice, or mention rather, is there's a little bit of a cutout here. You can kind of see that. Now, when I first was kind of observing this knife and just looking at it and looking it over, I saw that. It's actually one of the first things that caught my eye, and I was looking at it in in relation to the thumb stud, because I was thinking, well, that cutout's there so you can get to the thumb stud, and then I thought, well, it's kind of off. It's not really. I mean, shouldn't the thumb stud be like over here? And I didn't really get it at first, but after using the knife, it's actually a little detail, but it's really functional. Now, if you see, when I naturally grip where my thumb is, when I use a thumb stud, the corner of my thumb rests perfectly into that groove that they cut out. I mean, it was really necessary to put that there. Originally, when I first looked at the knife, I thought, well, either it doesn't line up or it's not really necessary, like why'd they do that? But it really is. It's perfect. It's exactly where the corner of my thumb needs to recess into the handle to get a comfortable grip on that thumb stud, so I can knock that blade out. So, again, little details like that, they matter. And that is a very functional little cutout. So it makes, again, just opening the knife a little bit more comfortable. Of course, this is ambidextrous. You have the double thumb studs, or thumb lugs, as some people call them. So you can open this righty or lefty. However, lefty, you just have to use your pointer finger to actuate the lock, as opposed to righty, where you would just use your thumb. Now, generally I use two hands, as you see here. I'll depress the lock and use my other hand to close it. But you can close this one-handed. I just found it to be a little bit on the difficult side. Because it's spring-assisted, you have some resistance. Blade closes like nothing until you get to about here, and then you have some resistance coming in. Okay. So what I wanted to show you is what I do. Push that lock down. I get the blade off the lock just a little bit. I kind of slide that back up, and then I reposition my grip so that I can use my thumb to close it. So that's how I would close it one-handed. Okay, just knock the blade off just a little bit, reposition my grip, and close it. So you can use one hand, not a big deal. Of course, all the hardware, screws and all that are going to be blacked out. You do have a adjustable pivot screw. There's a little bit of play side to side. You can adjust that to be tighter, but I have to say, in my personal experience with all these spring-assisted knives I've had, and by the way, people ask me all the time, have you tried this knife? I haven't seen it in one of your videos. I only recently made videos, about a year ago here on YouTube. I've had plenty of knives way before I started making videos. So there are tons and tons of different models and production knives, as well as a few customs that I have experience with that you just haven't seen because, I either traded them or sold them before making videos here. But I've had a lot of experience with different spring-assisted knives, from real cheap ones to very expensive ones. And I have to say they pretty much all have a little bit of side-to-side play. They have to, because if you want that to be nice and fast, you got to have just a little bit of wiggle room. If that makes any sense. I mean, if it was nice and tight, you'd flick this out and it would probably get stuck. You can, like I said, you can adjust it to take away just a little bit of it, but you're going to have just a tiny bit of play in order to be a functional assisted opening knife. You know, if that makes much sense to you. But it is fully adjustable. As far as up and down play, none. And that's what's important. Okay, side to side can always be adjusted by your pivot screw, but if you have up and down play, that means that the lockup with the spine of the blade is not correct. Okay, and this has no signs of up and down play. Okay, so that's a good thing. As far as let's talk a little bit about the pocket clip. I've always been a huge fan of SOG clips. Not only are they cool because they're laser cut out like that, I like the way that looks with the logo, but they're deep pocket bayonet style clips, and they literally disappear in your pocket. Now I don't have my pocket in front of me, but you can imagine this is all you see. I mean, obviously, you know, let me just grab my my faux pocket for the review because I have to show you this. So if you just bear with me just a second here, grab that pocket. And here it is right here. Yeah, I have to show you this because it's just you know, it has to be seen in the pocket itself. A little awkward because it's not on my person. Alright, anyway, so as you can see right here, how it rides in the pocket is completely invisible. All you see is that clip, which is very cool because to most people, most non-knife people, for all they know, that's a pen. You know, that's who knows, a PDA. It could be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be a knife. So for a lot of people, that is an issue. A lot of people don't want to advertise the fact that they do have a knife on them. But you can see, I mean, literally your pants material, let me take those out of the way now. The pants material actually goes up past the very lowest point of the knife. So it completely disappears in the pocket. Excuse me. Alright, so now let's talk about the blade. Actually, before the blade, let me just tell you the weight on this. This is 3.1 ounces. There is no steel liners of any kind. It's just the Zytel, you know, blade, and of course the locking mechanism. So it is as light as it could be, which is good. 3.1 ounces is a lightweight knife. It does not feel heavy in hand whatsoever. So that's another plus. People like their light blades. Not everyone. Some people do like a lot of heft in their blade, but most, I would say, prefer a lighter blade, especially if you're carrying a bunch of other stuff as well. Alright, so now let's talk about that blade. This is again, 3.5-inch cutting edge here, but this is a very purposeful blade. It's not specific to one individual task. A lot of people ask me, and in the future I'll make a video on this, talking about different blade shapes and styles. Now there's dozens and dozens of blade styles. I mean, there's a lot of them. Just to name a couple off the top of my head, let's see, we have Weehawk style blade, you have a stiletto style blade, clip point, drop point, Warncliffe, sheep's foot, God, spay blade. There's tons and tons and tons of blades out there. But a lot of these different blades, of course, Tanto or Tanto, a lot of these different blades serve specific purposes. Having different shapes, of course, is going to excel in a specific purpose. For example, the Tanto or Tanto blade. Originally, that was designed for piercing. It's a stronger tip design. Okay, so the tip of your knife is a little bit stronger. This style here is very versatile. You can use this for slashing. It has enough belly here for a decent amount of slashing. You have a nice fine tip on this, again, for piercing. Very easy piercing with that fine tip. You know, you have enough size here, which is really versatile. I mean, you're not limited just to small cutting tasks. You do have 3.5 inches, which is a decent blade size. Like I said, it's just very, very versatile. Also, I want to mention the grind here. This is a full flat ground blade. Now, again, you know, my knife guys, my experienced knife guys, if you just bear with me a minute here, I want to explain a little bit about the grinds. A lot of people are confused. A lot of people new to knives are a little bit confused about, because you guys probably hear that a lot, full flat ground blade. And you're kind of thinking, you know, what does that mean? So I did a little bit of a sketch here. It's maybe a little bit crude, but I want to show you a comparison between a full flat ground blade and a flat ground blade that starts, you know, about yay high, which is kind of common to have maybe a three-quarter grind, where, again, you know, I don't want to get too technical, I guess, but basically, a lot of flat ground blades, the grind will start about here, again, 3/4 of the way up. A full flat grind starts at the very top or spine of the blade. Basically, you have one issue to make a blade. You have a thick stock, or whatever the size is, and it's just a, you know, a flat piece of metal that you have to you know, take metal away to create a very small edge. And all a knife really is a wedge. You know, you're wedging this into material to split it. That's all a cutting blade is. Now, the narrower the wedge is, the easier it is going to be to cut. If you look at this picture here, on the left is a full flat grind. You can see how the metal starts to be taken away right at the very edge, okay, or the spine of the blade. Comes right from the spine all the way down to the edge. This one starts, again, about 3/4 of the way, or I guess more towards the half mark period, where if for this grind it would have start, you know, like I said, about here. About here you would start angling it down. The advantage to having a full flat grind is that where the part here where I circled is actually thinner than over here. So basically, you know, again, I'm trying not to confuse you. I'm trying to actually explain something better, but hopefully it's not confusing. Basically, if you have an angle like this, a skinnier angle, now look at the space in between my two fingers. If you have a skinnier angle here, it's going to pierce into something a lot easier than if it was a much wider angle. Because where it's fatter, it's going to have more resistance. You can't, think about splitting a log. Okay, if you split a log with a dull axe or, you know, a wedge, the wider it is, the harder it's going to be to push through the wood. If it's nice and skinny, it's not going to have any resistance on the sides. So hopefully that makes some sense. So basically, full flat ground blades have less resistance cutting into stuff, which means it is easier to cut. It's literally easier. It's thinner. So people do prefer them. Over the years, I've grown quite fond of full flat ground blades. I'm still a big fan of a good hollow ground blade. Something I'm not a big fan of is chisel ground blades, but that's a separate video for that, separate issues. But anyway, I just want to mention that full flat grind. It really does stand out in performance. It's a very good cutter. It's literally thinner, so therefore sharper. And I love it. Now that the titanium nitride coating on this, again, I like the overall look, but it does serve a purpose. It will keep this blade from rusting easier. Of course, you know, unless you use it a whole bunch and eventually it starts wearing off. But the titanium nitride coatings are pretty strong as far as coatings go. It's widely used by a variety of companies because it is, you know, up there in quality as far as coatings go. Now this blade is an AUS 8 blade. Now AUS 8 is, again, a little bit on the softer side, but the price reflects that. It is still a very good performing blade for the average person. You can very easily sharpen it. It's not difficult to sharpen whatsoever. Again, going back to rust resistance, it is a stainless steel, so it does. It's not going to rust as easy as your carbon steels or tool steels. However, having this coating on here really does help with that quite a bit. Again, just prevents rust. So not only does it look cool, but it is a functional coating. So a little bit about this lock here. And my apologies, guys. My battery just died on me. Anyway, I was just about to talk about the locking mechanism on this. You have the arc lock as far as actually the actual lock itself. But on top of that, if that wasn't enough, even though that's nice and strong, you have a secondary lock, okay, that would lock this in a closed position. Okay. Now this differs a little bit from their other spring-assisted models, such as the Flash series as well as the Trident series. Whereas on the other knives, when the safety is off, okay, when it's off, you had a red indicator. Red, of course, meaning, you know, warning, you know, no lock. Same thing you would have on a gun. When the safety's off, it's red. They decide to kind of flip it and do the reverse. When the lock is on, you get green. Green meaning safe. Okay, let me bring it in close so you can see that green. Okay, so green is safe. And of course on the handle here, you can see safety off. So when the switch is down, it's level with the indicator saying safety off, which is right on the handle. Can't miss it. Okay? So again, just kind of went the reverse there. When the safety is on, it's green. When it's off, there's no indicator besides, you know, where it says on the handle. Now some people like the locking feature here to lock it closed. Some people don't. The reason some people don't is because they figure if they have to get their knife out, you know, in a rush for maybe a self-defense situation or just an emergency cutting task, they don't want to have to forget, oh no, you know, I can't open my knife, I forgot the lock was on. So I can understand some people don't like it. The reason some people do like it is because spring-assisted knives, sometimes people are afraid they're going to open up in the pocket. You know, if they catch on the material, they could open up, and then, of course, you know, they can get injured. If this is an issue for you, just put the safety on. That's why some people like it. It will not open in your pocket when you don't want it to. Some people don't like it having it on here at all. I don't see why it would be an issue. If you don't want to use the lock, just keep it off. You know, it shouldn't be an issue whatsoever. But I do like the option of having it. You know, options are always good. So, you know, I do like it. I do like it there. Whether I'm going to use it or not, I like the option to use it if I choose to. So let's talk about the price here. The SOG Aegis is retails for $110, but don't worry, you'll never be expected to pay full retail on the knife. The average price online for this knife is between $60 and $70, which I think is very reasonable. I think for a couple different people out there, a couple more knowledgeable knife guys, you would think, you know, for what the market has to offer, you should have a little bit of a better blade steel than AUS 8 on a $60, $70 knife. However, I think this knife is an exception because this offers so many positive features on the knife that the blade steel shouldn't be an issue. I think AUS 8 is totally adequate for most cutting tasks. Again, if you can just sharpen or touch up your blades, it's not an issue whatsoever. I think it's a fantastic knife for the price, definitely. So that is the SOG Aegis. If you have any questions, feel free to post them down in the comment box. And once again, I thank you for watching. I definitely appreciate it. And I think you guys will be you know, really happy with this knife. Like I said, all around great knife. It'll last many, many years. As long as you take care of the knife, it'll take care of you. So thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.